Hi, everyone. A very good Tuesday, late afternoon, early evening. It's region weather meteorologist Matt Wintz. Want to bring you kind of a early rush hour update here as we get into the evening hours so you know exactly when that changeover is going to occur. As we already have our rain falling across the region, that rain will change to a wet snow as we go throughout the latter half of the evening. And then tonight, that snow really ramps up, and we are still expecting a very, very impacted morning rush hour tomorrow as some of that heavier snow moves in. So we're going to do a couple things on this. This is going to be a little shorter version of Region Weather Live. I'll give you more information in a smaller time frame, I feel like. We'll crunch it all in here. Again, we're going to talk changeover tonight. We'll talk how much we're thinking. Totals haven't changed since our forecast 2 days ago, so pretty confident in that. Although I have up to a couple totals for some of you, so we'll talk about that as well. And then we'll get you on your way. We'll also do another Region Weather Live tonight. So if you're watching this any later than, I would say the 6 or 7 o'clock hour on our Facebook page, information may be a little bit outdated in terms of the radar data, stuff like that. Forecast should remain the same. All right, we'll wait for a couple more people to join. We'll show our fancy intro video, and we'll get on our way on this edition of Region Weather Live. And welcome into this early Tuesday edition, a little earlier than normal, everybody. But we've got a couple things I want to spit your way here before we get into it. Also want to thank our sponsor, our first sponsor of the show, Griegers. They are in Valparaiso, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Chrysler. They're a fantastic group of people. I really got to know them over the last couple of weeks, and they love region weather. And I'll tell you what, they're keeping this show free for everybody, and I really appreciate that because there are options to have subscriptions and stuff, and I will never pass that on to you. So we appreciate the folks at Griegers. Support them if you can. All right, let's jump into the radar, shall we? Right now, we're dealing with rain across the region. That's the good news, right? We said we're going to start with rain, so we've got some melting going on. Temperatures still on the mild side right now, but you notice what we've got off towards the north and the west. Here's our snow. The rain's starting to change over to snow back towards the Rockford area. That's going to take some time to get in here. So if you have evening plans, remember we were saying this evening's going to be okay, but the latter half of the evenings when things will start to get a little questionable. And we've got a pretty good idea now that the storm system has developed, that we're getting really good reads in terms of the modeling because the system's over land now. The last 2 model runs have been pretty consistent. So we have a pretty good idea when this is going to change over and how this whole entire storm system is going to play out. So in terms of the rain to snow changeover, I think it's going to reach the Chicago area probably around 8 o'clock, somewhere around there. And then it should get into northwest Indiana from northwest to southeast, probably between 9 and 10. And then we're talking probably midnight or later. That's a really sad looking M on there. But midnight or later as you get down towards Stark County and then Newton and Jasper County. Should be a pretty quick changeover, though. And again, it's going to go over towards kind of a gloppy, heavy, wet snow later on this evening. And things really will go downhill, I think, beyond the 9 and 10 o'clock hour from northwest to southeast. So if you have travel plans or anything you need to get done, yeah, we're contending with rain. We've got a couple waves of rain that are going to get a little heavier here shortly. Pretty good push here back towards the Ottawa and Seneca area. That will move in probably in about an hour or so. But overall, you're dealing with just rain, and streets aren't icy or anything like that. So let's switch over to the models. I'm going to go ahead and stop this real quick and share a different screen, if that's okay. So just bear with me. You can look around at the decorations around here. Someone did ask, that is my Emmy Award. Just one right now. So we're working on another 2. We've got another competition coming up, another, award ceremony, awards, whatever. I think they're meaningless, but, proud of that. That's great. Okay, so let's get into this. Trying to figure out what I need to share here. I want to make sure I don't share my email. Not that I have that open right now. All right, let's get into some of the modeling, shall we? So here's what we've got going on. And again, I totally agree with this. I think this is how the system's going to pan out over the next couple days. I know my intro on here talked about the fact we just take it through tomorrow morning, but we'll go beyond that because all of you are taking a nice break in your day to join us, and I certainly appreciate that. So as we go through time here, here's our rain. You see there's our changeover here. So we change over to heavy, wet snow. We'll likely have big snowflakes. This is how I kind of picture it panning out. I think we'll have big snowflakes. It'll be pretty picturesque. This snow is going to stick to trees. It's going to stick to everything. It's going to be pretty in the morning as long as you don't have to commute As we go through time, though, that rain changes over to snow tonight. You notice how we develop this first little round that moves through. And this is going to be the biggest punch of the storm system. It's going to be tonight and tomorrow throughout the day, probably winding down early afternoon or so. Snow will kind of taper back a little bit, right? Then that second wave that we've been tracking that I hinted may go further south and east. It could have come west as well, but it does look like that's going to go a little bit further south and east. So that second wave isn't going to be as potent for a lot of us as this first wave tonight. And this first one is going to put down some serious snowfall totals tonight and tomorrow. So we're still looking at the same totals, but it looks like more of it's going to come from this first hit rather than our second hit. Exception being some of our southern counties. I think you're going to get both. So as we go through time, I'm going to fast forward it now. This is your morning rush hour. Notice how we've got, remember that sweet spot we talk about, right where that pink turns over to the blue. That's where you get some of the heaviest snowfall rates. We're right lined up in that. Newton, Jasper, Stark counties, right in the heart of that. This could still shift a little bit. There's not going to be much shifting left. Sometimes in winter storms, you get a little envelope of warmer air aloft. So not here at the surface, but you get that push of southerly wind that goes up into the clouds. So that tends to melt some of the snowflakes on their way down. And that's where you have the frozen precip problems when it refreezes on the way back down. So if that warmer air comes in aloft, I could see that sweet spot moving a little bit further north into Lake and Porter counties, maybe even LaPorte County. But again, I think it's well placed right now in the modeling. And that would take, what does the sweet spot mean for you? It means some very heavy snow, likely rates maybe an inch, inch and a half, up to 2 inches an hour at times. That also brings the threat of thunder snow. Remember, we talked about that last night. The modeling was a little further south and east, so I didn't think we had a chance. We do have a small chance for some thunder snow overnight tonight, and then especially tomorrow morning. How about that? You're trying to commute to work, which I hope you're not. Deal with some lightning while you're dealing with snow. Oh man, what a storm, right? So we're going to have some pretty decent snow falling tomorrow morning, and the damage will be done. Roads are going to be a mess tomorrow morning. Still expecting a very much impacted morning rush hour. It's going to be windy as well. It's going to be a heavy wet snow tomorrow morning, so there won't be a whole lot of blowing and drifting. As we go through the day, you see how we still have some heavy snow around. This is lunchtime. We're now talking 1, 2 o'clock. And it starts to taper off a little bit. This is now towards the afternoon. You notice how this first wave has kind of moved off towards the east. We settle into kind of this quiet period where we're waiting on wave 2, which is still way down in Oklahoma. And we've got kind of this sinking air with just some light snow, some occasional freezing rain south. That's what we're going to fall into later tomorrow. So Wednesday, late afternoon, evening, we're going to have a lot of snow on the ground, but conditions should slowly improve. They're not going to be great, but they're going to improve over where they were in the morning. The other thing we have to keep an eye on, we mentioned this a couple of days ago, the modeling picking up on it now pretty well. It's that lake enhancement. You see that little banding I was going to point to, like you can see my finger, but right in here, that little band that develops, that's that lake enhanced snow it looks to develop. Once the storm gets going there, that may target areas of Lake County. I still think it's more of a Chicago issue with that. That's kind of like a lake effect band that would bring additional snow to that area. So here we go. We're now into Wednesday night. We still have light snow around. It's just kind of broken up. We'll have some drier air in there while we wait on this next round, but we'll still have some on and off again snow. That's why on our post this morning with the timeline, I put snow tapers, because that's what it's going to do. It's not going to completely go away, but it'll be more on and off later on tomorrow. Thursday, the second wave continues to be really interesting. If we were just forecasting this is the actual low pressure part of the storm. If we were just forecasting this on a Tuesday, we would say, let's give it another day till we get really accurate on that, because this is literally another snowstorm that we're trying to forecast 2 days out. So it still could change, but the models have trended further and further south and east with this because they're detecting colder air that's a lot stronger than what they initially detected. So that pushes everything a little bit further down to the south. So what happens with the second wave, you watch how we have a real decent area of snow again, but most of it's down towards Indianapolis as you get over towards the Fort Wayne area and then eventually into Ohio and even central Illinois. It's south of us. Does it clip us? I think so, in our southern counties especially. And again, if this shifts north, it's a totally different ball game on Thursday. But it does look as of right now that we're going to have a heavy band of snow just to our south on Thursday. How far north it makes it is still in question. I'm going to be completely honest with you on that. As of right now, I do have it getting into Newton and Jasper counties. So that would bring some more snow back into Newton, Jasper, even Stark County on Thursday. Meanwhile, we'd see more snow shower activity from Lake, Porter, and LaPorte counties. Chicago wouldn't get much at all from the second wave. Second wave could put down a couple inches of snow. For most of us, I do think if we get it into those southern tier counties, we could be talking another 3 to 6, maybe 4 to 8 additional inches down there. That, as of right now, is best case scenario in terms of big totals. Otherwise, it looks to be a little bit easier of an event on Thursday. Wednesday morning looks to be our big time frame. That system moves out. Little lake effect still ongoing, but with that northeast wind should be back towards Chicago. Eventually, that will swing through, but we've got very cold air in place. So how much snow are we talking? Well, yesterday we said 10 to 18 inches. I felt comfortable with that, and I still do. I still feel very comfortable with that, and that would be area wide. And I think a lot of that falls tonight. I think I saw the weather services going 10 to 14. I totally agree with that as well. We're going to have to add some additional snow to our southern tier counties. So Newton, Jasper, Stark counties, if you find yourself living in those counties or traveling there, I would probably go another 3 to 6 right now. So I'd feel comfortable for Newton, Jasper, and Stark counties. So we're talking Rensselaer, down towards Remington, even south of that in Benton County, and then out towards Stark County, the Plymouth area. I'd feel comfortable saying a general 13 to 21 inches out of this. I do think for most of our folks in Lake, Porter, and LaPorte counties, I think 10 to 18 inches ought to cover it. So when do we get that much snow? Again, it's that hit tonight that's going to hit hard with that heavy, wet snow. You look at the modeling on this, and the models are pretty consistent. This is tomorrow morning right here. So by tomorrow morning, we're talking anywhere from about 3 to 7 inches on the ground already, depending on how that banding sets up. So we've got decent snow on the ground tomorrow morning. That would be manageable in a rush hour, probably, but the fact it's still going to be snowing is going to be the problem tomorrow morning. So we're going to continue to add to that, probably at inch-an-hour rates at times. So as we go throughout the rest of the day, Wednesday, this is now Wednesday night. You can see most of the snow has fallen. We're talking, the model's saying anywhere from about 9 to 15 inches. There's a sweet spot over here in Kankakee County. But I would say, a good 8 to 12 inches by tomorrow night, and then we'll add additional lighter snow in our northern counties after that. So your totals, you can see with that second band coming through, these are your storm totals as projected by the model I agree the most with right now. And again, we're talking anywhere, again, 10 to 18, maybe 19 inches. There will be some 20-inch totals more than likely where that second round goes through, which right now favors Newton, Jasper, and Stark counties. So pretty interesting on that. All right, so that's what we're going to end it up with. Our second round of snow is going to be a little bit fluffier. It won't be quite as heavy and wet, but this first round of snow is going to be heavy and wet. And again, 8 to 12 inches of that by tomorrow night. That's going to really weigh down some of the trees and power lines, and we may have some power outages as a result. Okay. All right, so I'd like to get to your questions now, if that's all right. And then we'll get you on your way. We'll probably do another update later tonight. I wanted this to be more of a nowcast, just telling you when the changeover is going to occur. Again, I think everything kind of changes over to snow from northwest to southeast after the 9 o'clock hour. So after 9 o'clock tonight, it's fair game that we'll see some wet snowflakes mix in, and then eventually we'll see some of that come down to the surface for sure. All right. My first comment I see is Mark. Mark says, top of the morning to you. Thanks, Mark. I've been doing the morning show on the TV side of things here. Man, I've got a 1:30 wake up call. I'm at work by 2:33. And, you get out of there, I come home, and thankfully my wife, she works from home, but thank goodness I can take a nap. So yeah, I woke up not too long ago. I'm fixing to go to bed here shortly, but we'll get another update in before that. So thank you, Mark. Appreciate the greeting this morning for sure. Hi, everybody. I appreciate you joining. Everyone's saying hi on here for sure. Dee says she bought her Jeep from Grieger's. Good. Yeah, they sponsor the show now, which is really special. I love the support from our community. And when we talked with them, man, they love the show. They already watch it. So it seemed like a nice marriage to me. So I really appreciate that. And again, if anyone else has a local business, I'm only focusing on local businesses. I don't want to do national. I want to support local Northwest Indiana. So if you do want to become a partner with us, just message us on Facebook. That's how we'll start the conversation for sure. But I really appreciate the support. Absolutely. Miriam, you're absolutely welcome. Joe asking, can I zoom in on the total count, please? So, Joe, this isn't like biblical truth here, but this is our thoughts or the model I agree the most with. So I'm going to go with it. I'm going to go a little closer here for you, and then we can see some of the totals. This is what the NAM Nest is spitting out. And again, I don't disagree with this at all. This lines up perfectly with what we've been thinking. The totals down in Newton and Jasper County are a little higher than what we've been thinking, but I would agree with this if we get that second round in here. So some of these totals, if you can see them, I can't get much closer than that, Joe, but I'll try here, buddy. There we go. Hopefully you can see that pretty well. Full screen doesn't help, but look at the sharp cutoff off towards the north. So north suburbs of Chicago are going to go from, maybe a foot to nothing in a matter of miles. And that's why these storms are so difficult to forecast. I mean, they really are difficult to line up exactly where that snow falls, exactly what the snowfall ratio is. So what the water content is in the snow. Snow is an incredibly difficult thing to decide on. The one thing I do want to say, and I've said this to our viewers here as well, we've been talking about this storm for a long time. And I think the more and more we talk about a storm, the more and more people, the general public, builds up the fact that it's going to be apocalyptic just because they've been hearing about it. They're like, wow, this must be bad. And I've said it before, and I'm going to say it again. This is going to be a big storm, right? These are some big totals that are coming out. And I don't doubt them. There's no doubt in my mind we're going to get some of these big totals. But we can handle it. We're going to be able to handle this. I mean, this isn't apocalypse, right? It's not. Like, let's keep it real. It's a winter storm. It's a doozy of a winter storm. What makes it a doozy? The fact that we're going to have a lot of snow that falls, right? So that becomes difficult for snow removal. INDOT just cannot keep up with it. And the fact that we have to remove it all, we've got a sharp freeze coming back. It's going to be really cold behind this, so everything will turn to a block of ice. That's what makes it difficult around here. Wind will be kicking throughout this event. We're going to have some gusts 20 to 30. It's not going to be a blizzard. It's not going to be a crazy storm like that. But the thing that makes this storm big is the fact that the atmosphere is going to crank out a lot of snowfall over the same area. And it's really impressive as a meteorologist to see this, because this doesn't happen very often. Let's be honest. It's really tough for a storm to gather this much moisture and come together like this. But we're going to get through it, right? As long as you're prepared, you're ready to go, you'll be just fine, okay? That's sweet. So, Morgan, you're absolutely welcome. Jimmy's saying call in sick. Michelle, the rain tonight, that's a really good question. And Robin asked about flight out of Chicago on Thursday. Chicago's difficult because they're right on that line. I think there will be a lot of cancellations, though. I don't think all of them will be canceled, but they're going to have a good snow in Chicago, too, even at O'Hare, although it's probably going to be less up towards O'Hare. Michelle asks, is the rain going to freeze and create ice? So one of the things you might want to do right now, just saying, I know it's raining outside, but if you have storm drains in your yard and you have a little bit of snow left over on them, just make sure they're clear. There's still some leaves around. Maybe go out in your raincoat real quick and just clear your storm drains just to make sure that water flows down there well. It always gets kind of murky in the wintertime. I don't think it's going to be a hard freeze behind this, Michelle. Temperatures kind of fall back slowly over the next couple of days. So we'll drop into the 30s, eventually 20s tonight. We'll kind of hold there and then go down into the low 20s tomorrow evening. And then Friday and Saturday are going to be our cold days. But, we're going to have icing issues regardless when you get temperatures in the teens, especially with the wet snow, because that's going to produce good water content. So there will be some icing, but it's not going to be like a flash freeze where you get the rain and then you have an Arctic front and boom, everything's ice. And the wind should help kind of dry some of it out as well. So I appreciate that. Brent, I appreciate that for sure. Yeah, so, it's no secret. I'm on the NBC channel in Cleveland. This is my hometown. I created Region Weather a long time ago when I was chief meteorologist in Maryville. That was actually my first TV job at WYIN. So we've kept this page running ever since. I've got friends and family back in Northwest Indiana. So that's why I do this every single night, because I love you guys. And we've had such a good community. My goodness, we've had such a good community. But I really, really appreciate it. I've been doing the morning show this week here in Cleveland, and Brent, I really appreciate that. Yeah, that's so fascinating too. That wrong decisions, $6,000, gosh, and cost them $100,000. That's amazing. There are a lot of people that obviously rely on the weather, and that's my job, is to give you the most accurate information I can, and without the hype. Let's just keep it real, shall we? Fabian says, "Hurry up and get the bread." That's funny. Kathy, we covered it a little bit earlier. You might want to go back and rewatch, but I don't think Thursday will be as bad. It depends on where that second wave comes from and how far north it makes it. But it doesn't look like that second wave is going to be as bad as our first. And by bad, I mean in terms of, how heavy that snow is. I do see a couple people asking about the county emergency stuff like that. I got a really helpful message on Facebook yesterday. Shoot, did I write it down? I don't know what I did. I think it's in my phone. But he gave me a really good source of where we can find county by county information. I had suggested that you look on the county sheriff's webpage. They tend to put that stuff out, and he said there's an easier option. And let's see, it is. Let me get to it here. This is really good information that he sent. And again, this came from William. So William, I really appreciate it. He said for travel advisories, a good place to go is the in.gov, so Indiana government webpage. It's in.gov, and on the side of the screen, you'll see a little pull-down menu that says advisories, and then it's a drop-down menu. And during weather emergencies, they have all the county advisories and stuff like that, so you'll be able to know about all that. All right, so kind of interesting. And he also recommends keeping phone lines clear during emergencies like that, which makes absolute sense. So if you can go online, definitely do it for sure. All right. Kevin asking football. Not now, Kevin. Normally, yes, I would be happy to give you football advice. Hey, how about them Rams, right? Someone asked me if the Rams are going to win. I said, I'm not in the business of prediction, but there you go, for sure. So very good. This is good advice. Paula, thank you. Make sure folks check their outside vents. You don't want carbon monoxide accidents. Very good advice as well. With the snow pile, stuff like that, clear the vents, clear the storm drains, let it do its thing. All right. And Mike Brown checking in from Indianapolis. Mike's our only region weather follower from the Indianapolis region. So I appreciate you, Mike. Mike, you always say these storms go north, and you know what? This one's not going north. You are in the bullseye. Folks down in Evansville, Indiana are saying this storm is going north, and it is. But Mike, be safe down there, buddy. I know this is going to be a pretty decent storm for you. I got a couple comments about, what happened to these 2 to 3 foot totals. We never went there, right? The Weather Channel was going there. I saw them do it, and I know they want the coverage and the clicks, and a lot of people on social media were spitting out the 2 to 3 foot totals. Some of the models were saying it. We never said it. I want to make very clear on that, right? Again, we don't do it for coverage or clicks. We do it to keep it real, and some folks don't, and some channels don't. And I love the Weather Channel to death, but my gosh, they just sensationalize everything. You can always tell by the music at the beginning of a broadcast. It's always like dun 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 dun. You see like snow falling. You're like, yeah, it's winter, big deal, right? So anyway, Pam asking about our local groundhogs. They are not going to see their shadow tomorrow, so that means an early spring, if you believe them. We'll see. All right, I'm going to let you guys go here in a little bit. We'll do another update later tonight just to talk about the modeling and all that stuff. I do want to answer Sherry's question before we go. Bourbonnais, Illinois. How about it? They're right in the heart of it as well. Boy, they're going to get the same system that we get. It's not going to be much different there. I would go 10 to 18 there, maybe a little higher. You see the modeling spitting out maybe 20 over there. But overall, I would say 10 to 18 for them as well. All right. Okay, guys, thanks for joining us this evening. Again, we'll have one more broadcast before bedtime for me tonight, and we'll keep you updated throughout this storm. We've got a lot of information to spread our way as we go throughout this event. And if you guys hear or say anything that's noteworthy, go ahead and send us a message on our Facebook page. We're pretty good in responding to that as well. Okay. All right. Stay safe. Again, rain changes over to wet snow as we get into the 9 and 10 o'clock hour tonight, and then it's game on.